the key functions of what you need to do with cross collaboration. Cross-cultural collaboration. Now, this one's huge because cross-cultural can definitely have its challenges, but if you complete it and if you organize it correctly, it can be extremely successful, especially if you're seeking to go international and if you're looking to do business out of the United States or in any other country. Cross Cross-cultural collaboration, this is more so you working with people from other countries or as well in other cultures. Now, something that I want to bring up and I want to touch on about this, understanding one of the key components to making sure that a cross-cultural collaboration is successful, depending on how people do business, is something that you want to research and identify before you present. Okay. Sounds very small, but you'd be surprised at the amount of people who don't get educated. More specifically, if you're doing business outside of the United States. Now, within the United States and within our country and within our culture, businesses, everybody has a different business perspective, but we all have a set alignment. In the United States, we have a set alignment on how we do business, right? We have certain business trends, traits, things of that nature. We all pretty much do this business the same. Some of us like more of a laxed type of environment. Some of us like a more professional environment. But overall, we have a general gist. If you've been in the United States for a long time or you're born in the US, we have a gist way of doing business, right? And how we have conversations. There's little differences in between, but we know that, right? Cross-cultural collaborations, more specifically when you're working with people in other countries, can definitely be different. Depending on the country that you're going to, there's different culture customs, there's different ways that they do business. There's different ways that they initiate meetings, there's different ways that they greet each other. So it's those items that is crucial. And the one thing that you want to do and the one thing that you really want to be mindful of when you're starting that type of collaboration cross-culturally is, of course, number one, doing the research. Because even though you may be the person that's seeking out that collaboration, you're working with someone different. You're working with them in a different, if this is where you are in your business. But if you're looking to go that route in cross-cultural collaboration across overseas, you want to make sure you understand the customs. You want to understand how they conduct business, because there's a lot of places such as India, such in Japan, just to name a couple, China. Business is done a little bit differently than it is in the United States. And so you want to also make sure that you do your full research before presenting, because you may present something and from your perspective and your perception, this may be great and this may be phenomenal and the way that you're executing it may be great. But if you're collaborating with someone that's in a different country and they have different customs, they may see something that you have as something they don't do, or as a particular form of, not necessarily disrespect, that's more just personal mannerisms, but they may see it as something that may go against their business practices. And so researching and understanding who you're looking to connect with, or what you're actually looking to bring to another country with cross-functional collaboration, is definitely key before getting anybody involved. Making sure you understand the customs of their business, making sure you understand how they conduct business, how they make the exchange outside of their countries as well, and coming to a full solidified understanding is going to be extremely crucial when moving forward with this. So cross-cultural collaboration is so key, and we'll have someone that talks a little bit about that again in the season. So all three of these that we're discussing, I'm going to have guest speakers, guest people come on the show to talk more about that, who has been experts in these, and we'll dive deeper into these actual topics of collaboration as we continue in season 2. And then the last one is virtual collaboration. So virtual collaboration is obviously online through the internet. People, of course, nowadays are doing video chats. Slack is a great chat channel. What are some that I'm familiar with? Slack, Google Hangouts is a popular one. Zoom is a popular one. Blue Jeans is a popular one. So video conferencing is huge. There's people that do business and are making thousands and thousands of dollars and millions just doing business across countries and even within the United States or within your respective country. So people are making money by doing online business. And so virtual collaboration is key. One of the things is that I have challenges with, and I have challenges with virtual collaboration, is you're always trying to make sure that there's engagement. And so there's different apps, like I just said, with video conferencing. There's Skype as well. People utilize those type of video conferencing tools. So what did I say? Skype, Zoom, Google Hangouts is one, Blue Jeans, Slack is another. So these are several just video conferencing, Slack more so as a chat. So the other four that I mentioned are really popular video conferencing platforms that people utilize to connect. And so the biggest thing with virtual collaboration is the engagement piece, because these are typically, wherever you are in the world, typically these are conversations you've probably never met this person in person, um, which is a lot of the case with virtual collaboration. You've probably never met this person, or in some cases you have, but because of timing and just scheduling, you're doing a lot of things virtually to make sure that you guys are connecting on a regular basis. But a lot of the times too with virtual collaboration, you have either never connected with this person in person, and this is going to be your actual way of communication. And so engagement is so important. And there's so many different tools that are out here that have actually made that successful and made it happen. I'm a millennial. I'm a proud millennial. I am a proud millennial, and I've seen a lot of the accomplishments that our millennial team, our millennial group has made when it comes to working smarter, not harder, right? Taking things that we may have put more labor, physical or mental labor on, and actually finding ways to make it easier. Not saying not necessarily lazy, because sometimes people like to say that, but that's not necessarily true. We just like to take things that are typical day-to-day activities and we like to make it streamlined, and we strengthen it to make it easier, not in the aspect of being more lazy, but just making it a better streamlined process that's more efficient, right? Because one of the things that I hear and I hear about with millennials, which is true when I think about myself, we're always about time. Time is something that we are keeping up with and we don't have. But I'm like that as well. My time is very valuable. So I want to make sure if I'm doing something, if I'm completing a task, if I'm involved in a project, I want to make sure that not only that we're getting it done, but we're getting it done efficiently and in efficient time. If there's a better way to do it, and if it's a more effective and producing performance driven, successful performance driven way to do it, I'm going to do it that way. And that's just what it is. That gives me times back to do what I need to do and to work on other tasks that I have. So there's other ways, and there's tools that help with that. So with virtual collaboration. So along with video conferencing, there's other tools and technologies that you can help, especially when you're organizing agendas. So Slack, what I mentioned, is a really great one where you can do different technologies. You can chat with people like real time, head on. You can share documents in Slack. Also, there's a program called Asana, and I've used Asana a little bit within my career, within my day job career, and I use it a little bit outside of in my entrepreneurial endeavors as well. Asana is a really great project management tool. So if you're doing virtual collaboration with someone across country or just virtual collaboration in general, virtual collaboration utilizing Asana can definitely help, because you can list all of your tasks and things that you have going on, what everyone's doing. You can separate it by groups. So even if it's like a group of 100, if there's 10 people out of that group of 100 that is working on something specific, you can actually make a category and add the people. You can make a category in Asana and actually create that for the 10 group, for those 10 groups of people, for that 10 group of people. And then you can actually have a actual separate section where they will only have their, pretty much their group in Asana, where they talk about those specific tasks. So if you have, well, 100 may be too high. So let's say if you have 25 people in a group, let's change that, right? So if you have 25 people working on a project, you have a group in Asana where it's only those 25 people. You guys are working on that project, updates and everything. you can utilize that virtually. But out of that 25, say 10 of those people are working on a specific part of that project. You can make a separate group for those 10 specific individuals to be able to work on that actual product or that project portion. So that way, information is not just going everywhere. And of course, you're also securing information from going into places or ears that it shouldn't be, if that makes sense. So virtual collaboration has grown, especially over the last like 10, 15, I would even be more confident to say even over the last 20 years, where people are doing more and more business online, e-commerce, business to business. People are doing more business online to the point where you have to have these virtual ways of being able to communicate and connect with people. One of the things, like I was stating, that I challenge with virtual collaboration is the engagement. You have to find different ways to engage. Typically, when you're working with people within a group, within your organization, or that's in your same vicinity location, obviously you can get together and do lunches, you can do group activities. With virtual collaboration, obviously you can't, especially if you're in a different state, if you are in a different country. So engagement is really something, along with having the right tools, engagement is really huge. And so one of the things that you may want to find as well is find different ways to organize, to not only just talk business on a consistent basis, but if you're actually working on a project, find engaging ways and engagement. Maybe that's games, maybe that's not, yeah, maybe it's games, maybe it's a lunch and learn, maybe it's different ideas of that nature. Maybe it's different things that you can do to help keep the engagement consistent as well. So making sure that it's organized, making sure that everybody's on task, but really making sure that the culture is great, because essentially with virtual collaboration, it's a lot more challenging to do that virtually than actually in person. You want to make sure that you're understanding and that the culture of the group that is collaborating makes sense and that you guys are enjoying each other. So maybe doing little things of getting to know each other, having like little lunch and learns, or having activities where you can learn more about each other, keeps the engagement going, because it's already hard enough that the person is not within your vicinity. So that definitely makes it a bit more challenging as well. So you have to find different creative ways to continue with making sure that that virtual collaboration is great. So I wanted to just share those items with you as well within this season 2, episode 2 of the Co-working Culture podcast, understanding collaboration types. And so we talked about more in depth of other collab types besides open and closed collaboration. We discussed a little bit about cross-functional collaborations, cross-cultural, as well as virtual collaborations. So as we continue on in season 2, I'm going to have some guest folks, guest speakers come on, and some guests come on and talk a little bit more in depth about each one of those that have full experience in each one of those types of collaborations. And so you guys can get more insight and more knowledge as well, to make sure that you are successful when you're doing these type of collaborations. Like I've said already in episode 1, like I'm going to say it in episode 2, when you're done with season number 2 of the Co-working Culture podcast, you are going to be an expert in understanding the power of collaboration. You are going to know, you are going to have real life experience, you're going to have knowledge that will take your collaboration skills to the next level. And so we have 8 dedicated episodes, 2 dedicated to you, to talk a little bit about that. So that's what the co-working culture is about, the co-working culture podcast. We talk about everything co-working, collaboration, and the customer experience. And season 2, we have dedicated to talking about the power of collaboration. When you're done listening to all 8 episodes of this season, you are going to be an expert and a pro, and you're going to have new knowledge and information that you may not have had before in learning about the co-working concept and learning about collaboration. So I'm definitely excited to share this knowledge with you. Again, you guys can get more information as well on the podcast at www.thecoworkingculture.com. You can also visit my website as well to learn more information about myself, www.iamollyjoseph.com. You can follow the co-working culture in many of ways. We are on all major platforms, podcasting platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast. You can also follow the co-working culture on social media. We are on Facebook, the co-working culture. You can also follow on Twitter at co-working culture, WORKN culture, as well as at co-working culture on Instagram. So we will populate pictures and different type of events, things that we have going on, keeping up with the podcast, keeping up with the conversation, and understanding the power of collaboration is super crucial to making sure that you are able to identify and you are